Welcome back to this special interview with Jairam Ramesh, who's authored a book on the close relationship between P.N. Haksar and Indira Gandhi in his book Intertwined Lives. Mr. Ramesh, a question about Sanjay Gandhi. He was somebody, from his days in London, he was always upset with P.N. Haksar because he felt that he was not reciprocating, he was not approachable as far as ideas were concerned, be it about Maruti, be it about leaving Rolls-Royce, be it about leaving his studies midway.
Well, I think the roots of the estrangement go back to 1965 and Sanjay Gandhi's tenure at the Rolls-Royce Technical College, which he didn't complete the course which was opposed to by both Indira Gandhi and Mr. Haksar, who wanted him to complete the course. And perhaps Sanjay Gandhi must have felt that Mr. Haksar was being too overbearing and too domineering over him. But from 65 onwards, there is this tension in that relationship, a tension that is singularly absent in Mr. Haksar's relationship with Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, which was very normal, very cordial and very close. In 1968, the Maruti project gets unveiled, and I think that really is the icing on the cake.
Haksar was against
Mr. Haksar was against the Maruti project of Sanjay Gandhi on two grounds. First, he felt that India does not require passenger cars at that point of time.
We need public
We
transport.
need public transport, and we should manufacture scooters on a large scale and flood the country with scooters, two-wheelers. That's one. And then the second point was more personal. He said that the Prime Minister's son should not be staying in the Prime Minister's house and carrying on a business. A business of which he would be the sole beneficiary, because as you know, Maruti, nobody else got the license, only Maruti got only Sanjay Gandhi got the license. So I think this, the rift with Sanjay Gandhi created the drift with Indira Gandhi, and I think that's when they started moving apart. Of course, don't forget that March 1971, Indira Gandhi gets a spectacular victory, in the midterm polls, which strengthens her immeasurably. It gives her a huge self-confidence. And then we have 1971 December when she is hailed as Durga by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So she has actually outgrown Mr. Haksar by the end of 1971, but she keeps him on all of 72, and he finally tells her that he wants to leave
and
in
December.
December.
I think she also started finding him overbearing. If you go by your book,
I'm sure that if you go by his written record, he was long-winded, he was verbose, he was brutal in his assessment of people, including the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's son.
But Sanjay also had something to do with it.
Indira Gandhi, 3 days after the Indo-Soviet treaty is signed, on the 9th of August 1971, Indira Gandhi sends him a slip of paper saying, why not a similar treaty with China?
And he said that you're almost out of your mind.
He said, you're out of your mind. You can't offer the same treaty to all the countries in the world. People will laugh at you. I mean, this is how he would respond.
But what we saw during the emergency, that was really the most complicated and probably the most tragic time in the relationship.
It is inexplicable to me.
Sanjay Gandhi orchestrated raids on his family.
Pandit
even got his wife arrested.
Yeah, Pandit Brothers, company in which his wife had an equity stake, a company in which his uncle owned, brother-in-law had an equity stake. Pandit Brothers was raided. His uncle and brother-in-law were arrested. His wife was about to be arrested and she was not. His house in Shantiniketan was raided twice. So between the 15th of July 1975 and the 15th of August 1975, 1 month period, he is subject to extraordinary harassment. And that harassment, orders would have come from Mr. Gandhi, no doubt, Sanjay Gandhi. But he kept quiet. He didn't intervene. He differentiated the personal from the professional. He
attended all the cabinet meetings.
He attended all the cabinet meetings in his capacity as Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission while the arrests were taking place. He continued sending her notes, the 20-point program, various notes on various issues, on agriculture, public investment, strengthening the public sector and so on. So, it was business as usual as far as Haksar, the public personality, was concerned, but it was certainly not business as usual as P.N. Haksar, the private man, private individual was concerned.
Do you feel that Indira Gandhi should have given heed or paid heed to P.N. Haksar's advice on the emergency? Would history have seen her differently? Would we have seen Indira Gandhi differently?
Personally speaking, I think we can understand the context of the emergency. We can analyze the historical factors that led to the emergency, like Mr. Haksar does, in which I have quoted. But there is no denying the fact that the emergency was a colossal error of judgment and decision. And on the part of the Prime Minister and her key advisors, Siddhartha Shankar Ray and Sanjay Gandhi and so on. Yes, I think the emergency has detracted from the magnificence of Indira Gandhi's achievements in so many fields. Green Revolution, Space Revolution, Pokhran 1, strengthening of the public sector, making India self-reliant. These are legacies which have endured.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the emergency also dominates the discourse.
Let's also talk about now the impact of P.N. Haksar on the Congress today, and what could be the possible things that the Congress party today could learn from what P.N. Haksar did way back in the 1960s and the 70s.
The most important thing is those in power must have somebody who can speak truth to power. I mean, he was brutally honest. He was not a sycophant. The power of ideas was the one that was the power that really gave him the adrenaline, and I think that's the most important lesson that we learn from him.
You're in the communication strategy group. If you had to give one piece of advice to the Congress president right now, simply because you've gone through all these archives about P.N. Haksar and Indira Gandhi and their relationship and all that happened during that period, what would that one piece of advice be?
Well, I'm sure that the Congress president knows about Mr. Haksar and Mr. Haksar's contributions. I think Mr. Gandhi recognizes this, and I think Mr. Gandhi, the private Mr. Gandhi, when you interact with him, he's extraordinarily open to ideas. He discusses, he debates, he gets alternative points of view. If you're silent, he asks you, he provokes you to give your views. I think Mr. Gandhi is comfortable with the power of ideas, and he wants a diversity of opinion. He is not in the Narendra Modi mold. I mean, I think they are completely different personalities. He's not a person who's going to impose his point of view. He's not about to call all of us and say, look, I've decided to demonetize, and demonetization we have to do. I don't think Mr. Gandhi will behave like that. He's much more consensual. He's much more getting people to participate in the decision-making process.
Okay, and my final question now, sir. The mantra for 2019, we've got the general elections coming up in a few months from now. The Congress is on its lowest number in Parliament. They suffered one of their worst defeats in 2014. What is the mantra if they have to succeed?
It's not a question of if we have to succeed. We will succeed. And in 2019, we will burst the Modi balloon. We burst the India shining balloon in 2004 when no one expected us to do. We will burst it in 2019, if not earlier. And the next government will be a government in which the Congress will play a pivotal role.
We're talking about the third front and a coalition.
I choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
The next government will be a government in which the Congress will play a pivotal role.
Should Rahul Gandhi be ready to step aside if the India government has to be defeated?
This is not about personality A or personality B. This is a defeat of ideologies. This is a contest between alternative visions of the past, alternative visions of the future. I think the next government will be a government of like-minded parties in which the Congress will play a decisive, influential and pivotal role.
But should they insist on the post of the Prime Minister?
What I am saying is that's not the issue right now. The issue now is to get parties together. Parties are already together in opposition to Mr. Modi. Parties have also to come together with a positive agenda, with a positive, constructive narrative. And I think that's the more important challenge than to worry about who's going to be the Prime Minister.
Right. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Mr. Jairam Ramesh.
Thank you.
That was Mr. Jairam Ramesh speaking to us about his book, Intertwined Lives, and the important relationship between P.N. Haksar and Indira Gandhi, and what the Congress party and politicians today can learn from P.N. Haksar. Thank you for watching.